Hey, what's up, you guys? Been a while, which we'll talk about in a second, but I'm here to bring you another QMR quick movie reviews, or basically just quick reviews. And this is basically when I get a little bit backed up, when my full-time job really kicks me in the ass, and I fall behind on some things. I know I've been a little bit spotty with some of my week-to-week TV reviews, which I hope to make up for, at least partially, within the next week or so. But this is mainly used for when I watch movies, as I do, and I don't necessarily have time or the energy to do videos on each of them, but I still want to talk about them somehow. I still want to get my word out there about them somehow. And this just makes it easier. It gives me a cushion. It makes me feel not as pressured to get a video out on each one of them. Even though I don't really have an audience, I still feel like I have to do a video on every movie I see. So this gives me a way to basically just relax a little and enjoy some movies without having to think I have to do a video on that one right away. I'm trying not to rely on this too much. But again, with a full-time job and everything else going on, it's something I've had to fall back on for the second time here. And I hope you guys enjoy this, because these videos I try not to make very long. This should only be about 10 minutes or so is what I'm planning, at most. So yeah, let's get into it. Right now we're talking about Hereditary, Hush, Sicario, Frontier on Netflix with Jason Momoa, as well as the first season of Sci-Fi's Killjoys. So yeah, I should also say that these are very, very mixed and very made into a variety, I'll say. Same with my first QMR I did, but probably this one even more so. It just is what it is. I'm into a bunch of different genres, quite a few shows, so it's going to happen. Now the first one I wanted to talk about was Hereditary, which just came out this past year in 2018. And one of the biggest films of the year, honestly, alongside A Quiet Place and things like that. A lot of people were talking about this film one way or the other. A lot of people loved it. Some disliked it, some couldn't quite find it. I had finally watched it with my girlfriend. I missed it in theaters. But I was always curious about it. I think it was number one on Chris Stuckman's movies of the year, which is pretty huge. Now, me personally, I liked it. I appreciated it. I respected how it was made. It definitely reminds you of like a witch, or The Witch type of film with Anya Taylor-Joy, which I really, really liked. It's that same kind of slow burn, sort of pulled in intrigue that it has to it, the sort of nature of it. There's something supernatural going on, but it's also sort of a study and look at human behavior and relationships and stuff like that. A lot of people are also talking about Toni Collette, the mother in this movie, and I think she did a pretty good job. Definitely deserves to be recognized. But I don't think I loved it as much as a portion of people did. I'm honestly rating it about a B minus, or an 81%. And that could be low, that could be high for you. Personally, for me, I thought it was well acted. I think the guy who played the brother in the film did pretty good as well. He was a bit spotty, but for the most part did pretty good. Just for me, it felt a bit familiar. I love horror, but sort of possession, haunting movies, type things like that, they're not necessarily my favorite, and it still felt a bit familiar, even if it was well done for what it was, for the most part. Although things sort of felt rushed at the end, and like they were sort of just trying to do the witch thing and just have like this big revelation at the end. It felt a bit like a trope almost, and a lot of things just came together at once, and I don't know, it felt a bit typical for the kind of movie it is. I don't know. I'm not saying it's bad, maybe just wasn't in the proper mood for it. Now the next one I wanted to talk about was Hush, which came out on Netflix some time ago, I think a couple years ago, and yeah, it's a home invasion movie, so again, kind of spinning off of yeah, it is a bit familiar. How many of those have there been, from that first Purge movie to how many others over the decades. I should have pulled up information on all these right now, but I didn't. But the changed thing here is that the woman in the house is deaf. So obviously putting her in even more danger than she normally would be. And there's this masked, kind of creepy looking killer going around the house. Have her contact with the outside is cut off and stuff like that. She's sort of in a secluded cabin type thing, or lake house, I guess. I forget. Another one I watched with my girlfriend. It was another recommendation of hers, and I like this one. Some of you may be shocked, but I'm actually rating it slightly higher than Hereditary. At least for me, I enjoyed this one a little bit more. Yeah, familiar. We've seen this type of thing before, but I like the spin on with the deaf dynamic. Made it different. They definitely had a lot of suspense in this. A pretty good pacing. It's a fairly short runtime, especially for movies these days. And I think the lead actress playing her did a really nice job. She is easy to root for. She's easy to emote. She also had trouble speaking, so she didn't say anything, but she did really well with her eyes and sort of the panic and fear and desperation of it all. And then when she tries to step up a little more realistically, by the way, she doesn't turn into some like a fighting machine or something. I like how that was done as well. There's sort of like this swerve in the middle of it where it makes you think something just happened. Like, holy shit, where do they go here? But it takes it back. But it's still kind of fun. And now the killer, isn't really anything special. I guess it's just more about how they played out with, again, that dynamic there with her. And with that, I think it did pretty well. It's solid. So, yeah. And then the last movie we're going to be talking about is Sicario. Which of course came out a few years ago, starring Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, and Josh Brolin, Thanos himself. And of course you have del Toro and Blunt reuniting. I love them together in The Wolfman, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, the 2010 remake. So I've always wanted to see more of del Toro, and I was just very late to the Sicario bandwagon. There's a sequel out now and everything like that. But I finally checked it out, sort of that cartel, corrupt type of setup. Really rough, pretty realistic is what it's going for there. John Bernthal also has a bit of a role in this, and he doesn't really get a whole lot to do. It's like the counter to the type of characters he'd usually play. It's still good to see him pop up, but he definitely deserves to be utilized more in like a big movie for sure. He's one of the greatest actors I know. But Benicio del Toro did a good job, as did Emily Blunt. She's sort of like our eyes from it. As she sees how these types of operations are run and stuff like that, and just how brutal it can get. There's this really, really sort of like daunting scene in a house where you see the work of some of these people that they're looking for and the sort of the lows they go to and the different routes they go to get there. And I thought it was pretty good. It was solid, pretty well acted. Benicio del Toro definitely stole the show. Emily Blunt does very good in anything. But, she just didn't necessarily get the most meat or the most material in this movie, but she was still good to have. Josh Brolin, he sort of had a, more quirky type of personality, I guess, but he definitely got strong when he had to. Thanos, of course. And, fairly good ending as well. So, I really like the direction they took with Del Toro's character as well. Definitely the highlight, like some people made him out to be. Maybe not quite to the extent that some did, but I still liked it. Solid. Bumping this one up a little bit more. Still a solid B, but up to an 85%. And now the two TV shows. First, we're going to talk about Killjoys Season 1 on Sci-Fi, which I watched quite a while ago. I just never got around to reviewing. And I did enjoy it. I like the lead actress. She just had a big role in Ant-Man and the Wasp as Ghost. And I think she's a charismatic lead. I like her. I like the backstory with her and her mentor. I forget the actor's name, but he's done a ton of TV. He was in Nikita and a bunch of other stuff. I like her dynamic and her history and everything. You also have Iceman from the original X-Men movies. And I just think the whole group dynamic with her, him, and his brother, they actually have some good chemistry and some good bouncing off each other, I think. And there's a couple episodes here that actually impressed me in the first season that were a little more psychological, a little more character-driven than I expected. But mainly it's sort of like a Guardians of the Galaxy type thing on a budget, I guess. Maybe not, I shouldn't say that necessarily. It's not completely comedic, but it's definitely light. But again, I was still surprised by a couple episodes where you actually got into the characters. But at the same time, I haven't really felt all that compelled to watch season 2 yet. I may eventually. It's a show I've kind of fiddled with over the years. Hasn't really pulled me in or sold me yet. But it's definitely worth a watch. Which is why I'm giving about an 80% B-. And now the last thing we're going to be talking about in this QMR is Frontier on Netflix, starring Jason Momoa. Of course, I finally decided to check it out after, Aquaman and stuff like that, or around Aquaman and stuff like that. I've been really into westerns lately. I got to do a video on Red Dead Redemption 2, which deserves its own video. So I kind of want to watch something of that sort, and I want to see more of Jason Momoa's acting. And I liked it, I was pleasantly surprised. I think it's a pretty enjoyable show. Momoa is Momoa, you gotta be in a certain mood for him. He does have a big persona, sort of personality type of thing. This is one of his more self-serious roles, though, and I liked him as Declan Harp, sort of this, outlaw against this, corrupt, trading company and stuff like that. I liked it. I think they have some good, decent cast members here. And yeah, Momoa is Momoa, but in the last couple episodes, I don't want to spoil it, but his character is sort of being held, and you see some, actually more emotion from him than I've ever seen before. And I think he did a pretty good job. And like I said, the rest of the cast is good too. Though I will say, it didn't fully immerse me into the world they're in. I don't know, something felt a little bit cheap about it, a little bit fake, and that's probably because of the budget. I think they did good with what they had. I thought it was enjoyable. Not many episodes in any of the seasons, so one I probably will touch on and continue at some point. Right now I'm divided on it, though. I'm debating between a C+ and B-. So around a 78, 81%, somewhere in there, depending. So yeah, I hope you guys didn't mind this video. You can follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, subscribe. And like I said, I'm going to be trying to do better with some of my weekly TV reviews, at least with Legacies. May get back to Riverdale, we'll see. But yeah, catch you guys next time. Peace.